Lieutenant Kara Wynne stood at attention on the parade ground of Outpost Viridian 7, her crisp Terran Alliance uniform pressed to perfection. The morning sun of the binary star system cast dual shadows across the assembled formation before her, not of hardened soldiers, but of something far more challenging. 32 juvenile Velkari cadets, their fox-like ears twitching with barely contained energy. The Velkari were a species of exceptional mimics. Their entire evolutionary path had been shaped by their ability to observe, replicate, and perfect behaviors they witnessed. It made them extraordinary students of warfare, diplomacy, and science. It also made them, in Kara's experience, absolute chaos when gathered in groups. Cadets, attention! Kara's voice rang clear across the compound. 32 small bodies snapped into position with surprising precision, their bushy tails rigid, their amber eyes fixed forward. She felt a swell of pride despite herself. 3 weeks ago, this same group had been tumbling over each other like actual fox cubs. She began her inspection, walking down the first row with measured steps. Each cadet stood no higher than her waist, their training uniforms miniature versions of standard Alliance gear. Their whiskers quivered as she passed, but they held formation beautifully. That's when she felt it, a familiar tickle in her nose. Kara tried to ignore it, continuing her review. The pollen from Viridian 7's twin bloom flowers had been particularly aggressive this season, but she was a Terran Alliance officer. She had survived combat drops, zero-gravity firefights, and diplomatic dinners with the notoriously belligerent Kreenoth. She could certainly suppress a sneeze. The tickle intensified. She reached the third row where Cub Rick stood, his small chest puffed out with determination. He was the smallest of the group, but had the loudest voice during drills. His eyes remained fixed on the middle distance, professional beyond his years. Kara's nose twitched. Her eyes began to water. She tried breathing through her mouth. She tried thinking about something else. Battle formations, supply requisitions, anything. But the twin bloom pollen was relentless. Microscopic invaders staging an assault on her sinuses. Cadets, you have shown remarkable... She paused, her breath hitching. Remarkable improvement in your... It was no use. Achoo! The sneeze exploded from her with such force that she actually stumbled back a step. It echoed across the parade ground like a gunshot, causing a flock of native birds to scatter from nearby trees. Kara's hand flew to her face, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. So much for military bearing. For a moment, perfect silence reigned. 32 cubs stared at her with wide eyes. Then Cub Rick's whiskers twitched, his small nose wrinkled. And before Kara could regain her composure, the little Velkari threw his head back and unleashed his own sneeze. Achoo! It was a perfect imitation. Same tone, same explosive force, scaled down only by his smaller size. The cub beside Rick glanced over, his ears perking up. Then he too sneezed. Achoo! No, wait. Kara began, but it was too late. The sneeze rippled through the formation like a contagion. One after another, the cubs began sneezing, each one mimicking not just Kara's original sneeze, but adding their own variations. Some sneezed twice in rapid succession. Others added a small yip at the end. The parade ground dissolved into a cacophony of adorable, chaotic sneezing. Cadets, maintain formation. Kara tried to shout over the noise, but another sneeze betrayed her. Achoo! This triggered a second wave. Now the cubs weren't just sneezing, they were sneezing in patterns, creating a rhythmic symphony of achoos that would have been impressive if it weren't completely undermining her authority. Cub Rick, still in his spot, sneezed 3 times in quick succession, each one louder than the last. The cubs around him immediately tried to match him, creating a competition of who could produce the most dramatic sneeze. Their tails wagged with excitement despite their attempts to maintain military posture. This is not proper military conduct, Kara announced, fighting back another sneeze. Her eyes were streaming now and her nose had turned a bright red.
We do not, achoo.
We do not imitate, achoo. The entire formation responded in perfect unison. Kara stared at them, then at the sky, then back at the cubs. A laugh bubbled up in her chest, threatening to escape. She bit her lip, trying to maintain her composure, but the sight of 32 tiny soldiers standing at attention while sneezing their hearts out was too much. She laughed. It started as a chuckle, but quickly grew into full-bodied laughter that shook her entire frame. The cubs, true to their mimicking nature, immediately began to laugh as well. High-pitched, yipping giggles that transformed the parade ground into something resembling a playground, rather than a military installation. All right, Kara said, wiping tears from her eyes. Whether from the pollen or the laughter, she couldn't tell anymore. Formation dismissed. Take 5 minutes. The Cubs broke formation instantly, several of them running up to her with questions tumbling over each other. Lieutenant, what causes human sneezes? One asked. Can you teach us to sneeze in different languages? Another chimed in. Cub Rick approached more slowly, his tail wagging uncertainly. Did we do something wrong, Lieutenant? Kara knelt down, bringing herself to his eye level. No, Rick. You did exactly what Velkari do best. You observed and replicated. It's just that sometimes not everything needs to be replicated in a military review. But you sneezed, Rick pointed out with the devastating logic of youth. We thought it was part of the inspection. Kara paused, considering this. The Velkari learned through imitation. Every human action, every gesture, every sound was data for them to process and incorporate. She had been so focused on teaching them human military protocols that she had forgotten they would learn everything, including the unintended moments. You know what? She said, standing up and addressing the group. You're absolutely right. I did sneeze and you responded. That's actually a perfect lesson for today. The Cubs gathered around, their ears perked forward with interest. Being in the Alliance military means you'll serve alongside dozens of species, Kara continued. Humans, Velkari, Kreenoth, Thalassians, and more. Each species has their own quirks, their own biological responses, their own unexpected moments. Today you learned that humans sneeze when exposed to certain pollens. It's involuntary. We can't always control it. Like when our tails wag when we're excited? A cub asked. Exactly like that, Kara confirmed. The lesson here isn't just about maintaining formation. It's about understanding that your fellow soldiers are living beings with their own biology, their own challenges. Sometimes the most professional thing you can do is adapt to the unexpected with good humor. Cub Rick raised his small hand. Does this mean we can sneeze during inspections? The other cubs leaned in eagerly. Kara smiled. Nice try, Rick, no. But it does mean that when something unexpected happens, we deal with it and move forward. Now everyone back in formation. Let's try this again, and I promise to take my allergy medication before the next review. As the cubs scrambled back into position, their tails still wagging with barely suppressed glee, Kara felt the tickle in her nose return. She quickly pinched her nose bridge, staving off another sneeze. From the command center above the parade ground, Commander Thex, a towering Kreenoth with scales that gleamed like polished armor, had watched the entire scene. His communication device crackled to life. Lieutenant Wynn, his gravelly voice rumbled. Interesting training technique. Sir, I can explain. No need, Lieutenant. Watching those cubs mimic your sneeze was the most authentic cultural exchange I've witnessed in months. Carry on, but perhaps visit medical for those allergies. Yes, sir. Kara felt her embarrassment return, but also a warm sense of validation. She looked at her formation of cubs, standing at attention once more, their eyes bright and their posture perfect. They had learned something today. Maybe not exactly what she had planned, but something equally important. They had learned that even officers were fallible, that biology didn't respect rank, and that the most human response to an awkward situation was laughter. Cadets, she called out, her voice strong and clear. Resume inspection. And this time, when she walked down the rows, her nose remained mercifully quiet. The cubs maintained their discipline, though she could see whiskers twitching with suppressed mirth and tails occasionally wagging. In the vast galaxy of the Terran Alliance, where humanity stood as one species among many, sometimes the most profound moments of connection came not from grand speeches or epic battles, but from something as simple and unavoidable as a sneeze. And 32 Velkari cubs who would forever remember the day their human lieutenant taught them that even in the military, nobody, absolutely nobody, could hold back a good sneeze.